Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a really powerful magic item out of the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Ring of Regeneration. Ring of Regeneration? Why, that's just a magic item. No, it's actually one of the most powerful in the game, in my opinion. There are two forms of the ring. I'll discuss each form on its own. The standard Ring of Regeneration restores 1 hit point of damage and replace lost limbs or organs, eventually also, per turn. So you get a point back per turn. So 6 points in an hour. So in a 12-hour rest, 72 points. A 24-hour period, 144 points. Pretty strong. It will bring its wearer back from death. But if poison is the cause, the saving throw must be made, or else the wearer dies again from the poison still in his or her system. I actually had a player years ago. He was on his feet, still fighting with about 3 hit points left, and took a massive blow on an actual 20, and ended up being down in something like the negative 30s. He had a Ring of Regen on, so it was just a matter of waiting. And I described the party as seeing his wounds heal up and close, and you could tell that something was going on, and they went, oh, his Ring of Regen is bringing him back. So it will bring you back even from death, which is pretty cool. And the example given about poison, you have to make your saving throw or die again. And if you die from poison at my table with a Ring of Regen on, you go to negative 11 hit points. Negative 10 being the threshold for death. Anything beyond that is where you die. And when you come back up into negative 10 in a turn, you have to save again and you die. Only total destruction of all living tissue by fire, acid, or similar method will prevent regeneration. Of course, the ring must be worn, and its removal stops regeneration process. So a really powerful ring. Also with this ring, you're not aging in a normal manner. You are not having your eyes change poorly, your hearing get a little poor. You are kind of like Wolverine. Anybody who's familiar with the character from the movies or the comic books, he has his healing factor, his regeneration, and that, of course, gave him a tremendously extended lifespan because he was constantly healing any kind of damage done to his body, including damage done by age. There came a point where he was just too old. He became Old Man Logan and all that, but the healing factor just wasn't as good. But he got a vastly extended lifespan because of his healing factor. And I always thought that was a pretty neat aspect brought out in that character. So we have the same thing in our game. I had a character in a game a couple of years ago, just an NPC, and it was a human, and everyone was marveling at this guy's tremendous age and vitality. He was 120 years old and had been with the community, and he's one of the leading people in the community and still vital and active, and all the other things, and nobody really knew his secret. Well, it turned out that his secret was he had a Ring of Regeneration that he'd gotten when he was a younger adventurer, and that kept him young and spry. Just an interesting little side thing to throw in. It's not really going to end up helping your characters, at least in my campaign. The campaign years don't go by as quickly. Bart Simpson's been 10 since 1987, and that's kind of how my campaign is. I track some time, but I don't put a lot of weight on that. So the age thing with the Ring of Regen is more of a sideline story thing than it is actually going to be a factor in my game, but it's still pretty neat to think about. And now the second form of this ring, the rare Vampiric Regeneration Ring. The ring bestows 1/2 the value of hit points of damage the wearer inflicts upon opponents in hand-to-hand, that is melee, not missile or spell combat, immediately upon its wearer, with all fractions dropped. So in this example, if I struck a creature, I'm wearing the Ring of Vampiric Regeneration, I strike a creature for 12 points of damage, and I'm down 8 points. I strike him for 12, I get half the value of 12, 6 restored to my hit points. I'm now only down 2 points. I strike him again, this time for 10, I would be eligible for 5 points from that strike, but I'm only down 2, so I just get the 2 back to heal. You don't get to carry phantom hit points or anything on this ring, although I did give out one years and years ago to a player who did get phantom hit points up to double his total. It was a hard-hitting campaign, and he was one of the main tanks. He was around 9th or 10th level. He played that character for another year or so, and then ended up leaving our group. So I have done it. I don't recommend it. The Ring of Vampiric Regeneration can actually be very powerful in the hands of any kind of strong fighter, especially if he has exceptional strength or a girdle of giant strength. and specialization, you're really cranking up the damage output he does, and then that cranks in his healing. You can actually have a fighter go in to melee, take damage in the melee, but because of this ring, come out of the melee with no damage. I've had that happen. So you got to be careful with the vampiric ring. Um, and then it does not otherwise cause regeneration or restore life, limb, or organ. And that was one of the big points of confusion about the Ring of Vampiric Regeneration that I gave to I've given a few of these out, very few. Is everybody thought they still had a regular ring of regen? No, no, no. You read the description. You don't get the other benefits. You only get the melee repair, if you will. To determine which type of ring is discovered, roll percentile dice. So 1 through 90 is a ring of regeneration, and 91 through 100 is a vampiric regeneration ring. In no case can the wearer's hit point total exceed that initially generated. So no phantom hit points. So pretty interesting. Very powerful magic item. I've given out lots of these over my DMing career. I have at least 2 or 3 characters that have these rings. They're fairly common at our table once you get into higher levels, just because it's such a useful ring. And we tend to not have a ton of clerics at our table, more now than we used to have. So we always had to kind of lean on other things for healing, and rings of regeneration, or rings of regen as we call them, were one of those items. So that's all I've got to say today on page 121. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.